Hey y'all, and welcome back to another fan mini episode of Catch That, where we get to know our friends through their favorite R&B songs. I am Naturally Elite, and that is my brother,
JR.
and we are the R&B representatives. And today we are welcoming somebody that we had to drag and pull and work a root and to get him here.
Yes.
And we are so glad that he agreed to come to this hot mess, and we love you for it. And that is the good brother Adam. Hey.
Hello, can I tell you why you're on the drag me? Because I am a fan of y'all's, okay? I'm a fan of the R&B representatives. I'm a fan of the show. I'm a fan of JR's Motown. I am a fan, and I've watched this, and I have watched y'all's encyclopedic knowledge of everything musical. And you will be talking about an album, you'll be like, yeah, and this producer, and then that producer, and then that branches off to a whole other conversation about like, yeah, in 1964, this guy was, and I'm like, I don't have that kind of knowledge. I do not belong with y'all. So I was intimidated. I'm a fan. This is like a celebrity moment for me. This is really big. I was nervous, and I was like, I don't know if I have anything to contribute to this. But I want to give a shout out to Mark Chappelle. He's the one who convinced me. He's the one who said, you should go do it. We talk, and he's like, you can do it. You can hang.
Yes, because you know me and you was back and forth with the whole Motown stuff. So I was like, he gotta come on. And Elise was like, I asked him, and he was like, I don't know. I was like, oh, no.
You know what I figured out was the difference? This is what I figured out was the difference. I was talking to Mark, and I was listening to y'all, and you'd be talking about Motown, you'd be talking about, yeah, and then that's the year that David Ruffin left, and then when he left, and then you'll get into all those details. And what I realized was, because I'm a bass player, what I realized was I can't name all the Temptations, and I don't know when they left and when they didn't. I can name Levi Stubbs, but I don't know the other three tops. So
Me neither.
I don't know those guys, right? But what I do know is what Uriel Jones's fills would feel like versus Benny Benjamin's. And I do know a Jamerson line versus a Babbitt line.
Yes.
And that I know.
Yes.
That's my thing. But I don't know, when did Whitfield come in and when did Ashford and Simpson? That I don't know as well. So I was intimidated.
Yeah. Oh, no. But you know, the thing, that's one of the things I think works really well about me and JR, because I don't have all that encyclopedia stuff, especially not about like the 60s. Like I ain't got it. I ain't got the range. You know, it's more when you get the late 70s, 80s, 90s, then I can kind of, well, boom, and boom, and boom, and Ricky Bobby, like, you know, I can do all that. But I can't either, but JR can't do that the same way that I can for those years. So it's just like a nice symbiotic kind of situation happening.
Yes.
Yeah, you compliment each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Sometimes Elise got to be like, bring it in.
And the thing that JR doesn't know as well as I do, and when I can really like show off, is I know charts.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Okay.
That ain't my bag. Nah.
Yeah. I can tell you the chart. I can tell you how many weeks. I can tell you who took that spot from that person. I can do that.
Yes.
Oh, see? Yeah. Okay, so that was a different, I thought you meant a musical chart. You meant like the Billboard charts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. When JR watches all the live performances on YouTube, I don't know shit about none of that. So
really?
Except for the stuff that he sends me, like I'm starting to, but I'm older than JR. A lot of that stuff I saw in the moment as it happened. Like I watch, like he'll be like, yeah, the Arsenio Hall. I'm like, yeah, I was up watching that. Like, or the, you know, when we get to like, you know, early mid 90s, I was like, I was watching that live, you know. So it's different, and I think that's why it's important to talk to other people, because they bring a little something different to the table. I don't want all meats. I don't want all sides. I don't want all drinks. I want a whole damn meal.
Yeah. Everybody comes together and makes that. I like that. I like that.
Yes. So before we get into your song, how about you tell us a little bit or a lot about yourself?
I don't know if I can tell you a lot about myself. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. So when I found y'all, I was so excited because this is the music that I listen to, and to find people who celebrate it the way that you celebrate it was so exciting. I got into this music. So my music's just a huge part of my life, right? Like in any bio that I write for anything, I always just borrow from Common. I am music, right? That is just such a big part of life and everything. And growing up, my family, my father was basically into like salsa and Hebrew music, and he listened to a lot of like old doo-wop and oldies. My mother was more like a pop music fan. So she would play like Prince and Michael Jackson and Lionel Richie and all that, but Journey as well and all that kind of stuff. It wasn't until I got into, I had a buddy who named Tony Vasquez. He's important because he's the one who put me on. He was a guitar player in high school, then he switched to bass after high school, right? And he started playing bass, and I loved the sound of it. And he was a good friend of mine. I loved going to his shows and listening to him play. And the music that he was playing, at first I didn't know it because I wasn't exposed to it. I remember going up to him after one show and I was like, oh man, that one song you guys play, I thought it was an original. And he's like, what song? And I go, I love that one song you played. And he's like, which one? And I go, the one where you're like, I know. He goes, ain't no sunshine? And I was like, yeah, that's great. Who wrote that? He's like, Bill Withers, right? But I didn't know it. And so he's the one who kind of put me on to old 60s, 70s R&B music, Motown, Stax, and all of that in a deeper way, right? Because you would hear it, I would hear it around the house, but I wasn't really listening to it. And so I started playing bass around that time. And if you started playing bass, this was what, the mid 90s? If you started playing bass around this time, especially if you were interested in those genres of music, you were studying Jamerson. That was just a given. You were listening to a little Jocko for fun, but you were studying James Jamerson. That's what you did.
Yes,
that's what
absolutely.
And that's how I came up playing bass. I came up playing Jamerson, studying all of his lines in detail, trying to understand what he was doing, practicing all of his different lines, listening for him. I mean, he was the man. And to some extent after that, Nathan Watts, listening to what he was doing, and a lot of those cats, the Louis Johnson. But that's really sort of what I came up listening to as a bass player. And I've been playing bass now off and on for about 30 years, but never like, it's just been a side thing. It's just been what I do for fun. It's just been like how I unwind at the end of the day. It's not my main thing, but I'm all things bass. I'll just leave it at that.
Yes. Love it. So how about you tell us what song that you picked to talk about with us today, and if you remember when you heard it for the first time?
Yeah, that's a good question, if I remember. Okay, so I want to talk about Darlene Dear. This is a Jackson 5 song. This is not a well-known Jackson 5 song. I don't think it's a well-known Jackson 5 song unless you are a bass player. If you are a bass player, it is a well-known Jackson 5 song. If you are not, you probably have never heard it. And so the way I came to it was, right, so I said I was studying Jamerson. This is mid-90s. If you were studying Jamerson at the time, that meant that you had the book. This was like the Bible of bass playing. People probably know the Stand in the Shadows of Motown documentary.
Yes.
Before the documentary was the book. The book came out in the late 80s, right? Came out around 89. And the book was everything. I mean, it was everything. Because it was two books in one, right? So the first half, okay, this is it, right? This is the book, Stand in the Shadows of Motown. And this book is so everything. I got two copies. This one's got coffee stains all over the place and torn out pages and all that. This book, the first half of the book is a biography of James Jamerson. It tells a story growing up and all that. And then it kind of does a biography of the Funk Brothers. And you get all these in-depth quotes because a lot of these guys are still alive in the late 80s when this book was written. It was published in 89, right? So you got to figure that he started at 86, 87. Jamerson had just died in 83. So this is all really recent, you know? And so a lot of these guys, Earl Van Dyke was still alive at the time, Robert White was still alive, they got great quotes from these guys. But the second half of the book, as a bass player, the second half of the book is transcriptions of all of Jamerson's bass. Mm-hmm. This is where you went to school, right? So you went to the shed and you spent hours with these tunes. It had two accompanying CDs. And what they did was they found all the best bass players at the time to record some of these tracks. So you got Paul McCartney doing the intro, you got Gerald Beasley, Chuck Rainey, James Jamerson Jr.'s on it. And they all choose 1, 2, 3 of his songs. And they cut a track with it. They play the bass line. And I remember you could isolate the bass line on one channel if you wanted on the left, or you could drop the bass line out on the right and you could play along, see how good you were with Jamerson. But it was everything. You were studying these, right? And I'm listening to these tracks and I'm studying, oh, Ain't No Mountain. I know Ain't No Mountain. I love that song. Oh, Bernadette. Oh, that's a great bass line. Let me study that. That was, you could tell that was kind of the writer Alan Slusky's favorite.
Yeah.
I Was Made to Love Her. What? Ain't Nothing Like the Real Thing. Home Cooking in 6'4" as a bass player. You want to talk about kicking your ass? Home Cooking. That bass line haunts me to this day. That Ron Carter's Nefertiti, but that's a whole other thing. And then I came across Darling Dear, and there was nothing like Darling Dear. I hadn't heard the song from the Jackson 5 before, so this is my first introduction to it. It wasn't until after I heard it in this book that I went back and I listened to the actual recording. You get to hear Michael with it, because that's a whole other level, right? When you're listening to Gerald Beasley plays the bass line in the book, and when you're listening to it and you're studying it, that's so great. And then you go and you put on the record, and you put it on with Jamerson doing this with Michael Jackson, and that was a whole other level. That made this bass line that was kind of like this beautiful jazz-like technical exercise really come to life in pop. The two of them together. And that's the song for me.
Go ahead, Jeff.
You know, this is everything for me. Like this is everything for me, because I'm like, especially with the fact that this Darling Dear, and nobody talks about this record, because you know this is the third album with I'll Be There on it and all that. So everybody is really in that. You know what I'm saying? That was what, and Mama's Pearl, because this was the B-side to Mama's Pearl. Yep. So those were the two songs that was kind of like, you knew, Mama's Pearl and I'll Be There. That was the focus, but nobody talked about the last song on the album, which
that's right.
What James Jamerson does on this record is everything. And like the tempo changes of this and the way he just finesses it, and him playing bass on it, especially. I didn't even say how I first got it, but I'm sorry, y'all. But I'm sorry. But it's like at that 115 point to like all the way to like maybe 130. And the things that James, I'm like, was he drunk like he was on What's Going On? Like, for real? Like, was he drunk? The things that he's doing on this, that's why I love it, because it's like, it like, I Was Made to Love It in what is it? That one from Stevie. I love that bass line. But when I heard Darling Dear, this literally had to be my favorite bass line from James Jamerson. This separated him from everybody from me. Like, I don't care what the best bass player in the world could not do what he did on Darling Dear. And I remember when I first heard it, because again, I'm listening to the whole album, so I'm like, I like what they did with Ready or Not, Here I Come On Here. They did, what else did they do? Mama's Pearl is on here. My mom loves Mama's Pearl. She would sing that all day long if you let her. And I was just like, so we got,
Bridge Over Troubled Waters on there.
Bridge Over Troubled Waters, yep, they did that too. So it was just like, I'm listening to it, and then I get to the end, and I'm like, wait a minute, who did this? Wait. This sounds like James Jamerson. This ain't nobody but him. So when I heard it, I played this over like 5-6 times the first time hearing it. You know what I mean? And then you got Wawa on the guitar. He's playing the one on the guitar, and you got James Jamerson on bass. I was like, Wawa Watson, yes, he's playing the guitar on this. The rhythm guitar on this, he's playing it.
That was him. So I got so confused about this. I could not find that. I saw he played on ABC. I knew he played on ABC. Playing with them a lot. It didn't sound like him to me.
And it didn't. And that's why when I heard it and I did so much research, I was like, who is this? Because I was like, all right, at least know I'm good with that too. I got to find out who wrote it, who the heck played on it. Like, that's my thing.
He got to know who catered lunch that day at a session.
Yep.
So when I was like, who is playing on this? And when they was like, Wow Watson is on the rhythm guitar, I was like, whoa, this don't even sound like him, like at all. So it shocked the hell out of me when I heard it. I was like, wow. So this song musically is just a mess. And then Michael sounds great on it. Like he just singing for his life on this joint. You know what I mean? And for it to be the last song of the album, I'm like, I don't want it to end. Like, please.
I think it's one of the best, if not the best, well, not even best, favorite Michael vocal as part of, as Jackson 5 for me. I'm gonna say favorite, not best, but I think it might be my favorite vocal Michael performance from that period.
Might have to agree.
It has that, JR. I remember when you were talking about Bernadette, you were talking about the intensity that Levi was singing that with. I feel like Michael has that intensity here. Like he's 11 or whatever he is at this point, but he's got that intensity of the vocals. Like I'll Be There, it's smoother, it's kind of more mellow. He's got a beautiful, lovely voice, but there is a pleading that should not be coming from an 11-year-old in this song.
And I love the harmonies. Ooh. That song just hits you as soon as it come in, because it come in with that. And it's just like, it's so clean, but soulful. Like, oof. Love it.
And when I first, because obviously we all, you know, when you're first listening to this stuff, you're thinking the brothers are playing on it. But we found out differently once you get into the research who really playing on this joint. But there's a live performance. I don't even know if it's up anymore on YouTube. And Jermaine is playing this live. And you can tell, even though it's not James, but you can tell he studied the hell out of James Jamerson to try to get what he did on the record. Like you could tell Jermaine studied him because because I was like, is he gonna do it? Is he gonna do it at this part? Wait a minute. And he actually did. And I was like, and then I can't even find it on YouTube anymore. Cause y'all, this is one of my favorite Jackson 5 records, period. You know what I'm saying? Like it is. It's one of my favorite records, period. And it's an album cut. People don't talk about it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
I mean, it's a reason that people don't know Jackson 5 album cuts.
Well,
what's the reason?
Because those albums were
a mess.
They were 60s albums. You look at my record collection, it ain't many 60s full-length albums. It's 60s anthologies and greatest hit records from those 60 groups. But I do not have many of those records because
Motown wasn't cut now, right?
Yeah, it was a single-driven. The music economy at that time was single-driven in a major way. It wasn't really till like 68, 69 that you started, and in the 70s, of course, of more conceptual albums and bodies of work and that sort of thing. So
and then Motown was mostly.
I sounded like JR right there.
You did. And you did. And yes, and it's just the fact that I think also everybody was just covering everybody's stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just what their albums was based on. Everybody covering everything. You know what I mean? So it was finally you get to a song on an album that is not a cover. I think for me, I pay more attention to. You know what I'm saying? Because
Darling Dear was a cover.
Okay, yeah, we were gonna go there. The Counts did it. I didn't know that then. I did not know that. I was just like, oh, this isn't something I never heard. But then, doing research, then I found out the Counts did it in 1964. So I was like, oh,
wait,
okay. Who? The Counts.
Oh, I was thinking about the Miracles. The Miracles.
They did.
This is on Miracles.
But the Counts did it as well.
I did not even know that. Because this is
I found that out.
Song. They wrote that in 64.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes. When I saw, So it was like, Smokey, because man, they on this, they also did The Love I Saw in You Was Just a Mirage. They did on this album too. So when I saw that the Counts did it, I was like, wait a minute. But I was like, didn't Barry's brother write this record? So I was like really confused, like, wait a minute. But I'm knowing Smokey, we know Smokey to write all his stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, oh, then the Miracles did it. Oh, the Counts did it too. I'm like, so it hurt my feelings because I actually thought this was a cover. It wasn't a cover until I found out it was. I said, well, damn.
I found out today it was a cover twice removed.
Yes. I was shocked. I was shocked myself because I'm like, no. And so when Elise made the statement of saying, well, we know why that the 60s and 70s albums in Motown, after I can say what's going on, bodies of work. Well, no, I can give Stevie what, his what was the album he made in 70? Where I'm Coming From. From that on, it's like, okay, everybody started making bodies of work. But before then, like Elise said, it was all single driven. So it was like, make sure the singles are big, and then there we go.
And going back to something you said earlier, you was like, I was like, not many people know about this song. Well, before you came on, JR, me and Adam were talking about, I was like, he's like, oh, we got the anthology. I was like, yeah, this song ain't on it though.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
but it's not on it, and it's a lot of songs on it, a lot of like obscure songs, but not that.
Wow.
Some feel that they were just trying to, they got the Jackson 5 in there, and it was like they were just trying to churn out whatever they could. Like they cut, I want to say 4 albums in the first year they were with Motown.
Yeah,
like
they did.
If you look at when these were released, like because they had the Diana Ross Presents, which was like I think late '69, and then it was a couple months later that ABC drops, and then a couple months later, third album comes out, and then a couple months later, Christmas album
comes out. Yeah. Then maybe 5. Tomorrow, like it just
all of it. They were churning stuff out when they got there, and so you have to.
And because they know Philly was about to kick ass. That's what that was. Philly was about to come and kick ass. After 72, it was about to be done. You know what I'm saying? That's why I love that Motown actually has a anthology where they say from 1959 to 72. Done. You know what I'm saying? Like it's done. You know what I mean? But as far as that, I always give this to the Jacksons too, and I think a lot of people miss that when it comes to the Motown stuff. Everybody, once the 70s started to happen, we all saw that Motown started to take a little dip. And this was even in about 68. This is when Motown starts to take a little dip. And thank God that the Jackson 5, the phenomenon that they were able to keep kind of Motown level. You know what I'm saying? Because again, this is music changing now. Everybody is not with this. Everybody now is really more into the musicality of it all. You know what I'm saying? People are like, ooh, that bass is hitting more. This James Jamerson bass is hitting more. This, guitar is getting more. What are they saying? The statements in the record. So if the Jacksons didn't have that moment from like 69 to like 71, I don't know where Motown would have been, to be honest with you. So it's like you can't miss them. And that's why Suzanne DePass was probably like, cut, we need to get all this stuff out. We need to really, and I'm glad you said that, because a lot of people don't. They were bringing out every 5-6 months, a new album here, new album here, new album here. So it's like they got all these number ones, but then next week you got a new album out. It's like, well, goddamn, let me sit on this. You know what I'm saying? But they needed that to kind of keep Motown afloat, because we know what Barry was doing. But, we know what he was focused on rather than all this other stuff, because he didn't want them anyway. Y'all know how that goes. You know what I mean? But this record, going back to the record, Darling Dear, man, this is just James Jamerson at his best. And this is what set him apart, because everybody goes to What's Going On, which is fine, because he was drunk as a skunk and played it on his back. I ain't mad at him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't mad at him. But at the end of the day, it's like if you really pay attention to Darling Dear on this, James Jamerson is the best. And that's why I will always go hard for him for this record. Like, for real. Like, I don't care who, nobody can play on this record to me. So, yeah. Let me shut up because I'm talking too fast and I can't even breathe. But go ahead.
I don't think there's anything like it. And you know, as a bass player, like I think what's going on is such a great comparison because what's going on is a really beautiful bass line. And it complements that song so well. It is a beautiful R&B bass line. Darling Dear to me is a jazz bass line wearing like an R&B like suit over it or something like that. It is like that Funk Brothers jazz influence is so in this bass line if you listen to it and you try and hear what he's doing. The way he's using arpeggios to articulate the harmony. This is one of those tunes where if you really strip it down and you listen to the bass line, you can hear the chord changes. You can hear the harmony being spelled out in a beautiful way. You can hear like, oh, this is when he's moving to this chord. This is when he's moving to this chord. Because he is sticking to this like almost walking pattern, but then he's throwing in all of these other jazz things, the 16th notes, the syncopation, the open strings. He's leading with the tones. So you get that kind of pushing, propelling feeling from the bass line like you would in a jazz song. Yes. And then on top of all of that, on top of outlining the harmony, on top of creating something rhythmically that is absolutely special, melodically, it's like he's in a duet with Michael. Yes. And then you've got like the rest of the music, what I love about this, because if you listen to the Miracles version, right, it's kind of this fuller version. You got like, it's so sax heavy, it's slower. So Jamerson steps back, right? Jamerson plays on that version too. And he just steps back. You hear him still doing his stuff, but you can tell the same person isn't there, right? This one, you've got the strings that are in there doing a lot of the melody. And then you've got what I think you would know, Jared. I think it's Uriel and Ashford that are locked in for the rhythm section on the the tambourine really pops in this song. And so this song to me is like layered. It's got Uriel and Ashford with Wawa kind of like complementing that rhythm section. You've got the strings kind of coming in with this kind of like this really amazing melodic kind of thing that's layered on top of it. And then in my mind, it's Michael and Jamerson singing to each other throughout this song, where they're not copying one another. They're doing different things, but they're complementing one another in this way that I think this bass line is the kind of bass line that you really just have to study if you're a serious bassist, because what he does there in creating all of those things at one time, outlining the harmony, playing this amazing rhythm, doing something melodic, all on top of Michael Jackson's vocals, is absolutely masterful. It's really something else. And when I listen to it and I try and play along with it, I can never capture that sound, right? Because I'm not Jamerson. But I think that there's also something, this is 1970, right? They recorded the song. The date I found for the recording was like May 1970, right? Jamerson never changed his strings, right? People probably know that Jamerson never changed his strings.
Never
changed, right? Because the dirt keeps the funk, right? That's what he would say. So you got to remember, by 1970, as a recording musician, these strings are dead. They're dead. So if you listen to what he's doing, it's got this thump kind of a thing where the notes don't resonate.
Right.
And that's actually part of the beauty of it, is the way he's able to play this bass line with the particular strings that he has. You're getting this amazing rhythm and melody come out of it without it sort of ringing out and it's so tight. And that's partly Jamerson's, mastery, absolutely. And then I think about it's got to be something else as well, and the strings and the deadness of them. It's such a unique sound, and I don't imagine that anybody could ever replicate
it. I agree. It just has that Motown sound that I love so much, especially on how it comes in. Ooh, just la la la. Ooh, and it just has that, and then just Jamerson. It just, to me, I could just imagine myself looking in the studio and James Jamerson just playing. like, and making it look so easy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like, oh
And
God.
like you were saying, and then you have the strings in it, and you put strings on anything, you get an instant drama, you get an instant kind of melancholy, just no matter what the strings are doing, and then combine that with the it's almost, it gives it kind of a hypnotizing feel with all those elements together, and then you got Michael singing perfect, and his brothers singing perfect, like it's just an amalgamation of wonderful.
You know, and the way they were recording at that time, right? Like this is versus early 60s where everybody was in a room. The way they were recording at that time, they were doing multi-track at this point. And a lot of times Funk Brothers were laying down track. They had no idea who they were going to. They had no idea who was going to lay out the vocals on this. So I have to imagine that the Jacksons laid down their vocals after everything else was already there. And so I'm imagining Michael coming to the studio and hearing this. And that's what I really love too, because when you have such brilliant musicians, they're not going to be intimidated by hearing something like this, right? Michael's Michael, even at 11, Michael is Michael. He's not going to be intimidated hearing Jamerson doing this. He's going to be like, oh, now I can fly, you know? He's hearing something so special. It's not going to bog him down. It's not going to, you know, make him feel constrained. He's going to walk into this hearing, I imagine, this kind of laid out track with everything already there, strings and percussion and all that, and just really layer on top of it. And that to me is part of the mastery of all of these guys.
Yeah. And it also proves, like, when you're singing on a record, you don't have to do a bunch of dramatics. If you can do the simple but do it perfect, that means more to me than any that I love all that, but give me a simple song sung perfectly, perfect pitch, and just put together, arranged just right, and give me that all day. I'll listen to that all day.
And then what I like too is that they made the song very different from Smokies and those, because Smokies and those are so, it's so, like you said, the tempo is so it's so, you know what I'm saying, it's so slow, it's so grown
and big.
They made this able that the kids can be like, yay, like we can, you know what I'm saying? And it's just a difference. And that's why to be honest, I like both versions, but I do like this one better, obviously. But this one I love because that's how dope James Jamerson was. He can get on a remake, even though he done did the version already, he can get on another song and make it just as dope, but not even playing the same way he was playing on the other one. You know what I mean? Because if you listen to what they're playing on Smokey in those versions, I think it's a little bit more jazzy on what they like to me. Because we knew the Funk Brothers were jazzy dudes. Like, they were jazzy and they loved jazz. They hated this 2-time that Barry wanted. They hated it. That's why after they used to do sessions, they used to go out to the to the bars and go play, because they was like, yo, we wanna get busy. We don't like this 2-timing mess. You know what I'm saying? So when they got to Smokey and the version of Darling Dear, I know James Jamerson was like, oh yes, this is my shit here. Like, I can really get busy and get this jazz influence. When he did Mike's, even though the jazz influence is still there, it's very Motown sound-ish. So I know, James is like, all right, this is what we're doing today. Okay, fine. Like, you know what I'm saying? But like you said, it does sound very duet with him and Mike. You know what I'm saying? Now thinking about it, it's like, it's just those two. Yeah. And you're not paying attention to nobody else.
That's right. It's Marvin and Tammy, right? Like, it is, and Jamerson too, like I like what you said about these guys. These guys were jazz bows. They were tired of this Motown stuff. They were tired of, especially that early stuff with like 2-3 chords, right? And I feel like, and I think that this is a jazz thing too. You play a tune a couple of times, you like it, and as you keep playing it, you get really familiar with it. If you look at what he did, the way I think about what Jamerson did on the 2 Ain't No Mountains too. Like, Marvin and Tammy's was recorded first. I don't know what it was, like 66, 67 or something like that. That's a good solid bass line. It's intricate and all that. But then if you look what he did in 69, 70 with Diana Ross, he goes off.
He does.
He goes off in that song with Diana Ross. Like it's a whole other vibe. Hers starts light and airy, and he's kind of just like spaciously there. And then when it builds with the strings, Jamerson's on a whole other level. And I feel like that happens here too. First cut with the Miracles, he's like, I'm gonna keep this mellow. I got a nice bass line here. And then he's like, I've already done that. I've been there. I'm going off. I'm gonna do a whole other thing. And he did that with Angel Mountain. He does it with Darling Dear.
Yep. And you feel it. That's what he, and I get him as a bass player because you could tell the songs that he actually was feeling, that he enjoyed. And that's why it's like with him, it's like, I'm like, oh yeah, James Jamerson is getting busy on this. He's feeling this one. Like, okay, if you listen to all the early Motown, you could tell James Jamerson, like, can we get this done? Like, I'm ready to leave. Like, I'm ready to go home. Like, this sound I'm not feeling. But the ones that he is, it's like, you just want to study that. Like, it was a feeling for him. And me, I love to feel. So it was just like, even though this is my favorite version of Darling Dear, but I love his feeling on the Miracles because I felt like it was a little bit more of him enjoying it rather than this. It felt like, okay, with the Jacksons, okay, this is all right, this is what y'all want, cool. I'm gonna give it to y'all, cool, blah, blah, blah. I'm gone. Not realizing, I'm like, dude, you know how intricate you are on this too? Like, do you not realize what you doing on this? But it was easy for you, but we listeners are like, what the hell did he just do that? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Let's go back. Let me listen to this for a second. And he probably did this one thing flat and was like, I'm out, y'all. I'm going home. See y'all.
Yep. And it would have been different every cut. And I love Earl Van Dyke had said the thing he loved about George Gordy was that George would come up to them and just be like, I don't know shit about music. I can't read nothing. You guys do it. I'm gonna go into the studio. You do it. Like versus Norman Whitfield, right? It was like, I want this, very exact.
Yes.
Gordy just backed up. And for a bunch of jazz bows, that's something special to just be able to tell, just do it. Here's your chart, just go. And I think that produced something special, but I think you're right. Like when you listen to what Jamerson did with like Marvin, Junior Walker, the Four Tops, you could tell he loved playing those tunes. And then you listen to like what he did with the Temptations, it's much more straightforward, right? It's much more like just my imagination, very simple, straightforward bass line. It's a great bass line, but you listen to that versus like what he's doing with Junior Walker on Home Cooking and Mutiny and all those tunes. It's a whole other thing.
And then he's working with people like, cause Holla Doja Holla, they love him. Like they love James Jamerson. Like and that's why it was the relationship they had. He was able to kind of be a little free on like you said with the Four Top stuff. It was just like on Bernadette, you could tell it's an upton, but James is having fun on it. You know what I mean? Just like Elise has fun every time it plays. But it's just, she loved that record. Like, and you can tell he's having fun, and that's what I love. And it was like his birthday, I think. And I think me and you was going back and forth, Adam, when I was kind of posting a lot about James Jamerson's songs. And it was a lot of the songs that I was putting up there, and a lot of them was not songs that people knew. And I'm like, y'all not understanding, like James Jamerson is getting down, and you can feel the happiness through the bass with him. And like you said, by 19, and he did not change none of his streams. So we in 70 by now. I'm surprised they were still working. You know what I'm saying? Like as many songs as he has done on those, and on here he gets to this, and it's still kicking. I was like, man, the genius that he is, and I'm so glad that when I see a lot of people talking about bass playing, I saw, because I was gonna feel some type of way, and I was gonna tweet it, but this is before we had rnbreps, so I can express that on here now. But I was like, yo, I was looking at lists, and I was like, okay, let me see what James Jamerson, because if he ain't in people top 2, something ain't right. And I was looking at all these on his birthday, and I was looking at, and I was just going online, and people were just going how great he was. People were doing articles about it. I was like, all right, then I don't need to tweet. I could just tweet the music and go about my business. Because I was going to tweet like, what's wrong with y'all? James Jamerson is the best bass player ever. Like, what is wrong with y'all? And people realized that, so I was happy with it. So when you put this in here, I was like, me and Adam go back and forth because it was one of my Motown Life episodes, and I wish I could go back and record it. It was one of them that I did, and I did not talk about James Jamerson in it. And Adam definitely, what was it? Which one was it? I forgot what it was.
So here's what it was from what I remember. It was Bernadette,
Okay.
but you didn't talk about Jamerson, but in the shortened clip that you put on Twitter, you did mention it. It was only in the full like 5-minute version. So I watched the short clip and I was like, I know you didn't just talk about Bernadette without talking about Jamerson. Like I know that's not just happened. Like I know you weren't mentioning like, you know, I don't know, HDH, that's fine and all that, but I know you did not talk about Bernadette without talking about James Jamerson. That song is Levi Stubbs, James Jamerson, and then a whole bunch of other people in a room. And I don't care who or what was going on. That's that song to me.
Okay, yeah, I know it was something because and now when I and then I went back and I wish I could record it because that was the first video that Elise I did for her because she had got me the Holla Doja Holland shirt. And I knew that she loved Bernadette. Yes, and I was like, and now that I watch it and I looked at the clip, I'm like, why didn't I talk about? I could have probably talked about Jane for like 3-4 minutes alone. Like I was like, what was I thinking? But I was so focused on getting it for her after she got me the shirt. I was like, oh, this is Elise's favorite song. This is da 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 da. And I look at it now and I want to re-record it. I want to re-record it, but obviously I'm not, but I do because I'm like,
take my gift back and try no.
Right, an Indian giver, right?
Don't say that. It's horrible. But yeah.
Bernadette's a special one. Bernadette is another special one. I mean, but and it's one of those tunes like you're saying, like Jamerson really, you could tell he was just like in his bag. Like he really, that was a moment where you put him in the studio and he was just in another place. Like he was making music that is transcending. And then to have all these other people on top of it who were so gifted and amazing and talented as well, that's just a special song. And he's got, you know, he's Jamerson has got so many prolific bass lines, but and what is so amazing about Bernadette to me was when I first listened to it, I was like, oh, this is going off. What is he doing? He is doing like theoretically the most basic, straightforward bass line you could ever imagine. There are arpeggios.
So basic.
They're so basic. When you hear it, the way he plays it, this is like what you were saying before, at least about like you don't need all those acrobatics and all that. When you play really sound, simple music, but you do it well, that's better than anything else. Like holding this one note with beautiful sustain is better than all these pentatonic vibratos that everyone's doing. Like when you can just lay something out simply and elegantly and beautifully, it really comes to shine. And I know that that's weird to say with Darling Dear because it's such an involved, complicated bass line. But when you really break down what he's doing, it's not. It's a really straightforward bass line, just like Bernadette.
To the point that's what I was gonna say. It's basically it's not as hard as we think, but it may when you hear it, you're like, damn, what is he doing here? Like for real, but it's so simple. You know what I mean? And I was worried too when I was after listening to this. I was like, oh God, I hope now that I know Smokey's version and knowing what he did, I hope that James didn't go into this like, oh no, I gotta do what I gotta do. And I said, wait a minute, JR, get out of that because that's not James Jamerson. He's not that guy. Like, he's not gonna give you the same thing twice, no matter what remake it is. You know what I mean? So I was just like, I love both, how he playing on both. But again, it's just something about what Mike did on his that it just made it so like one of the best songs for me. You know what I mean? So it was just like, Darling Dear, love this record.
And this is the take we happen to get. If they had settled on a different take, you know the bass line would have been different.
Completely.
Yeah, he wasn't playing like this is written out note for note. No, you gave him some chords and he said, this is what I'm gonna do. And that's a jazz thing, and that's what he came out and he did. And I can guarantee you, however many takes they would have done, every single one of them would have been different in some way.
Yes, it would have.
This just happened to be the one that was laid down and recorded. And so now we have this. So you could study like I could picture, like if I was going to music school when I was younger or something like that, you got to audition for it. I could picture this being an audition piece. But the thing about it is it's like technically, yeah, I could play this tune. Technically, sound wise, no, I can never get close to what Jamerson was doing with the sound of it and the way he really made this song sing. And I'm not sure I've ever heard anybody be able to do it.
Boom.
The
There it
king.
is.
The king. Period.
So yeah, thank you for hanging out with us to talk about this. What a wonderful pick, by the way.
Thank you.
Perfect.
It's a meaningful song to me. I didn't know if anybody was going to know it. I didn't know if people would appreciate it. I hope everyone goes out and listens to it now. Oh, and if you can find, I think his name is Tom Rowland. He does this. He did an album called The Stripped Mixes, which is a bunch of Michael Jackson tunes with a lot of things removed, like a lot of the rhythm section.
Yeah, it's on Spotify.
It's on Spotify.
I know what you're talking about.
Darlene Deer on there. You can hear it's basically Michael, Jamerson, and the strings, and that's it.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful to listen to.
Yeah, it is.
Sis played it while she was here. That's right. That's right. You sure did. Yep. Getting ready for the show. Yep. Yep. You did. Yep. Yep.
You really hear Jamerson in a way that, you know, coming up on the radios in the 60s and 70s, you wouldn't have been able to hear him.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's a special thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah. Again, thank you for hanging out with us. This was dope.
Thank you very much.
You come back, talk about a song, an album, or if you just want to get on Zoom and just talk to us, we just talk.
All right.
I would love that.
I'm gonna hold the Mark Chappelle-ness against you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. We tolerate him. No, this
I'm
is
actually gonna take up for you, Mark.
This is a real honor for me. I really appreciate this. I appreciate what you both do, keeping this music alive and celebrating it in the way that you do. This is really special music. It's really meaningful to me. There's nothing like it, and it's an absolute honor and privilege to be here. Especially you guys have had over here. Oh, that's intimidating. Right, Alexander Morgan and me? What is that?
Okay, that's the beauty of it is we talk to everybody the same way, so they could be, you know, a multi-platinum whatever. We gonna give them the same conversation as we do with somebody. We've had shows with people that just discovered the album they were talking about that year, and we talk to them the same way, and it's just been a beautiful thing. We ain't no putting on airs or we got to be on good behavior. No, we don't do that.
Very beautiful. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, we ain't on that.
I really do. Thank you.
Yes, and thank you to all our viewers, especially our good folks in the live chat. It's always a good time, and we love family. Bring us some more cousins. Tell a friend. Tell an enemy. Tell a casual acquaintance. I don't care. Tell your mailman. I don't care. Just tell them. Come on down to the R&B. So, we will catch y'all, my darlings, my dears, on the next Catch That. Peace.
That was beautiful.
Hey y'all, and welcome back to another fan mini episode of Catch That, where we get to know our friends through their favorite R&B songs. I am Naturally Elise, and that's my brother,
JR.
And we are the R&B representatives. And today we are going to be welcoming a dope brother who has been on the show a couple times before, and we had a really good time with them. And that is our good brother, Easton. Hey.
Hello. Once again, thank you, man. It's always a pleasure coming on. Family, friends. Yeah, man. Love swimming across the water, man. Thank you.
Yes. So, you know what? I'm gonna skip all the extra intro stuff, but we'll get into all the stuff you do at the end. But how about you tell us what song that you picked for us to talk about today?
Right. So I'm excited about this one because it's not a typical R&B song, as in, you know, there's not the sort of the love, the message and everything. Well, there's love in the message, of course, but you know what I mean. So today I picked BMU, Black Men United, and it's a song called You Will Know off of the Jason's Lyrics soundtrack. one of my favorites, man.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. You did a big one with this one.
And yes.
So how about you tell me, do you remember hearing it for the first time? And if so, how did it make you feel?
Yeah, definitely, man. So as most of you know, I love hip hop. And one of the big things in hip hop are like the collaboration tracks, the posse cuts, loads of MCs on one track. They always excited me. I love those. So, oh gosh, when was this? 93, was it? Probably about 93. Am I right?
94.
94, my bad, sorry. So it was 94. And I had heard it, it had come on MTV. So I saw the video first. And I thought, this is sick, man. Just seeing all the singers on there. So I was just glued, just watching it all. And then obviously I got into the message. A lot of the singers that are on there were some of my favorite R&B singers at the time. So that already instantly grabbed my attention. So yeah, I would have heard when the single dropped. I don't think I'd even seen the film at that time. So yeah, the single dropped, I saw the video, and from then, lifelong fan. I love it. Bought it on record at the time. I don't think it's on streaming today. Well, it's not. I know it's not on Spotify anyway. So I was glad to have physicals and that. Bought it back again on CD. Well, I love the
right.
The soundtrack is brilliant anyway. But that was definitely one of my favorite songs. But yeah, big fan of the song. Love it. Love it.
Well, this song brings me back to anytime I think about like a top 10 song for me and for my South Carolina days, this is one of them. And I never forget when I first heard it. I heard it on, for anybody from South Carolina, Quickie 93.9. And I remember, because this is kind of like around the time where we're about to leave. We had like another year before my mom graduated. So we was about to leave. And by then I'm a Southern boy now. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm in there now because I done been there for almost 3 years now. So it's like, I'm finding my fitting in there. You know what I'm saying? I'm very country boy walking outside with no shoes on and all this kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Especially coming from New York. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not that light. So me doing that. So when I heard this for the first time, I just remember everybody that I liked was on there. It was just like, whoa, it was just coming back to back to back to back to back. And I was like, oh. And I remember my mom saying, wow, like this is a powerful message. Like you really like this. And I was like, yeah. And that's how she she knew with me, especially with a message, you had to get me with a kind of a song like this. Because she did that with Rhythm Nation for me. So this song had a powerful message, and these dudes was singing on it, and every male on there during this time was hot. They was hot. Everybody had a hit. You know what I'm saying? So it was just crazy. And I just remember I was like, yeah, Mom, we got to get this. And then after I heard it that time, it was just like all over the place. Like you said, BET was playing it, Video Soul was playing it, MTV was playing it, every radio station was playing it. So it was like I didn't have to actually get it, but I actually recorded it on, we used to record from the radio, y'all. Our little cassettes and stuff, and I actually recorded it and then ended up having it for myself, so I can just hear it. And this is just a powerful message. You know what I'm saying? Your dreams ain't easy. Just stick by your plan. That is the line that always got me. You know what I mean? So that was I will never forget this song. This song is very dear to me because it brings back memories of me being a kid in South Carolina. So
good.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember it being played a lot. I was in high school, and we all did go see the movie too. So I had already seen the movie, and a lot of people. I remember school had the soundtrack, had the CD, and they definitely played it a whole lot on the radio, a whole lot. But it was welcome to hear that, and it was nice to have another song that was like in the vein of like an optimistic, to where it was inspiring, but it still was like it still had a bop to it, and yes, it's preachy, but because the music and the voices sound good, you kind of don't listen to preachy because it is preachy. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. But it was delivered through a vessel that was palatable for the youngins. So Yeah, I remember this vividly, and I remember loving this movie. And what's wild is the Jason Lyric soundtrack had 3 singles that did really good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Actually, yeah, the KC, they had the KC as well, didn't it?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Who yeah.
Yeah, actually. Scarface, Jesse James. It's actually a really good soundtrack, you know. Like it don't get Forget I Was a G, Whitehead Brothers. Damn. Yeah, it's
Oh,
had some
yeah.
really good songs on there, man. Yeah, I think I had the soundtrack way before I actually had even watched the film. But yeah, I love the song, man. Love the song.
Yeah, because the
And
big
then
singles it had, because it also had the Brian McKnight Crazy Love, that movie, and then the
Oh yeah.
and like you said, the KC with the If You Think You're Lonely Now, and then this song, we all did really well.
And then to know that D'Angelo wrote this record and we didn't know him yet. You know what I'm saying? Like we didn't know D'Angelo yet. We didn't know him at all. You know what I'm saying? And then for him to find out that this record was actually on his demo and his executive heard it and was like, oh, this is something. Let me get this in a movie. You know what I mean? And which started getting eyes on D'Angelo because he was making Brown Sugar during this time. So it got eyes and ears open for him. You know what I mean? And obviously, like Elise said, it's very preachy, but and D'Angelo's from the church. So you know what I'm saying? So it makes perfect sense. You know what I'm saying? And then to have Brian McKnight also produce the record, another person that's from church. So this song is very churchy. And you could tell it had that thickness that we were going to love D'Angelo for. You know what I'm saying? Especially with what's his name? Bob Power on it that produced damn near everything for D'Angelo. You know what I mean? That was on it and mixed and all that kind of stuff. And then to have Lenny Kravitz on the guitar too. Like, oh my God. Like how it come in through. That Elise is actually learning guitar, y'all. She's 6 months in.
I thought we didn't invite and include Lenny Kravitz in Nothing Black. My bad.
Say that
Every
again.
show a receipt has fallen of him involved on something, and I'm like, I thought we ain't fuck with you. Anyway, I digress.
Shots fired. You better stand up for your guitar, brethren. You better. But that's the truth. Like everybody, and he's on it because I mean, he's the first person you actually hear on it playing the guitar. And then you got Tevin that's coming in with that gospel. And then you know Gerald. You know the dramatic of Gerald Levert, R.I.P.
So Easton, what is your favorite like person or like part of the song? Like, I was waiting for
that question.
Yes, me too.
You can't talk about this song and not talk about that. That's the brilliant thing about the song. Everyone just holds their own so brilliantly. But boy, I'm gonna have to say it comes down to 2 people for me, yeah. And like I said, everyone kills it. Everyone kills it. Unfortunately, I do need to say Robert. I'll just say Robert. He did kill his part. Let's be honest. You know, I know he's almost like a no mention now, but he did kill it. And Joe, I think Robert and Joe, those 2 are the standout ones for me, man. Trust me, just them bits there. I know how the music affects that as well because you got the little acapella bit in there, but yeah, Joe kills that little bit as well. I just love it, man. I think and that's why I think the song is so good for me because literally everyone kills it. For that bit, you know, for that reason. But yeah, I'm gonna go with R. Kelly and Joe. Them 2, man. Them 2 slots there.
Yeah. So I want to list for everybody that's on that record, besides the 2 that you named. It is Aaron Hall, After 7, I'll Be Sure, Boyz II Men, Brian McKnight, Christopher Williams, DRS, D'Angelo, Damien Hall, Elder Bars, Joe Levert, H-Town, Intro, Joe, Keith Sweat, Lenny Kravitz, Lil Joe from the Rude Boys, Portrait, R. Kelly, Silk, Stokely, Tevin Campbell, Tony, and Ursher.
Why do I not do a commercial, yo? Was that a commercial? Right?
I know it is. Yeah. That was crazy. That's an
Yes, he
insane
did
line.
that.
That's insane. But to quickly go back to what you're saying about D'Angelo, that was one of the things for me as well that blew my mind, because like you rightly said, I didn't know who D'Angelo was. Do you know what I mean? And when I had known that song, loved that song, memorized that song, seen the video 100 times. So it was only after Brown Sugar, so it was like 95, 96, and I watched that video again one time, and I'm like, oh, because at the end when they're like, come on, D, sing the song. Like, who's D? I didn't know who D was. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you watch the video, and then he's in it, playing it. It's just, I found that amazing, man. It's like, wow, look at this, man. I didn't even know this guy then. And then to find out he wrote it as well, man. Brilliant, brilliant.
And you didn't even know, because if you watch the video right in the beginning, it's like you see a quick of D'Angelo. It ain't even that fast, but you're not even paying attention to it because you don't know him. You know what I mean? So then now, like you said, you go back, and after Brown Sugar is out and he's large and all this, you play the video and you be like, oh, there go D'Angelo with no braids. Like, look at that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
crazy.
I mean, it's just like, speaking of D'Angelo, it's just like Erykah Badu be in the video and ain't nobody know who she was. It's like, oh, it's a fly.
Yeah.
Who she is? Yeah.
True. J-Lo in the Janet video as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So a few times, a lot of these artists are grinding in the background, man. And you just don't know them to their time. Do you know what I mean? So yeah. But let me flip the question to you two. What you just asked me, Elise. What's you guys your favorite sections in the songs?
I just love Tevin Campbell.
Yeah.
And everything and everything about him and that he stands for. And even though it's a small part with Gerald going off, just being dramatic, I just love it. It was appropriate, you know. It was appropriate for everybody on that song who may have oversing. That's the song you go when you oversing on.
True.
On this churchy, like collect, like you guys show who you are. Everybody's pretty. I say like 75% of them are new artists. Go on, show what you got. I allow it because everybody's doing the most, too much, and I love every bit of it. This is the type of song that you do too much on.
Right. Yep. Mine is one of them is Joe. Like he comes in that bridge and do what he got to do. You know what I'm saying? Like just the run, you know, like just that.
That's Joe's specialty though. So they were smart to put him on the bridge because that he does that.
He does that. Then I love when Brian comes in after Aaron, because you know Joe is Joe. Then Aaron comes in, and then Brian comes in. Your dream, like you said, sis. Everybody is so dramatic on this record, but it makes sense. Like you know what I'm saying?
So true.
Like it makes perfect sense. So I like that part because it's like, again, I love an ad lib. Give me an ad lib. Like give me an ad lib. Give me a run. Give me something. And that's what Joe and Brian did for me, especially after coming from Aaron. You Joe, then Aaron. I'm like, well, Brian, what you gonna do, buddy? Like you coming after Aaron Hall, who's giving you all this grit. You know what I'm saying? So what you gonna do? And he came in so smooth, and then the choir comes back in, and then it's all good. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's Brian and Joe for me. But when that live performance go down in '95, when they did it at the AMAs, my favorite part is Tevin, because Tevin showed his complete utter ass on that stage at the AMA. He showed his complete ass.
And you know what? What I think about him in the song, because actually on the original of the song, he actually ain't doing crazy amount, but I just think about the live performance.
And I actually haven't seen it. I'm gonna watch it after
this. That's what informs my favorite on that song is the live.
Yes, the live performance. Like Tevin was like, y'all didn't give me all of this on the record, but I'm gonna show y'all on this performance. And it was even one time El DeBarge looked at him and was like, whoa. Like he was just like, if you look at that, Tevin showed him and Gerald. You know Gerald got in front with the mic and was holding it and just being Gerald. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna watch
And,
that. I haven't seen it. I'm gonna watch it after
and
this.
Oh, you
at
never
that.
seen it?
Oh, you
No,
never
I haven't
seen
seen
it.
the performance.
Oh no,
No,
you got this. Oh baby,
I'm
this
gonna
is
watch it straight
no.
Oh
after this.
yes.
This is must see TV. Oh, you got to watch
Yeah,
it. Please do, and then tell us. Come back and tell us what. I mean, hit us up and tell
100%.
us what you think about it.
I'm
Yeah.
telling you,
It is a
it's
sight. Oh,
yes,
it's
it
great.
is.
So everyone showed up. Everyone that's in the song was on.
Everybody.
Everybody.
All right.
The only one that didn't show up was Raphael, and Dwayne sung his part. But other than that,
Okay.
everybody.
Okay.
Even yes, and you can look at even young Usher, because Usher in there, and it's just to see. I don't even think we could ever get something like that, because everybody on there was talented. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
everybody was young, and
Yeah.
everybody was new, and it was just to
Yeah.
see. And now a lot of them are legendary. Some we don't have anymore, RIP. But it's just
Yeah.
like, yo, and then to see the sisters out there representing too, because they were standing up the whole time.
Yeah.
So you, Easton, when you see it, you're
Yeah.
gonna be like, yo. But like
I'm
I
gonna watch
said,
it straight after this.
yes. So like my favorite has to be Tevin for the live, and I see why you say that,
Okay.
sis, because
Okay.
he
Mm.
eats.
Mm.
And
Right.
the thing
Okay.
about like, and one of the reasons we'll never get anything like that in there beyond the talent part is there's not that same camaraderie with different artists. The only camaraderie you
Exactly.
get, and it's halfway fake, is within a crew, like
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But you don't get collaborative things in the same way. You get
Yeah.
duets and stuff here and there, but you don't
Mhm.
get any big collabos.
Too
Like,
much
I
ego.
mean,
Too
you
much
don't even
ego.
get, think back, another collabo, think about Heartbreak Hotel with Kelly Price and Faith
Mm.
and Whitney. Like, we can't even get that anymore. And it's past
You're
the
right.
talent part. It's just such a division.
That's right. Yeah.
And,
Right.
Yeah.
That's part of that is that's our society now. And then that's what, record companies have destroyed the
I was gonna
industry.
say.
And
Yeah. Hmm.
it's a myriad of reasons. And then people are distrustful of other people, and they want to work with
Yeah.
people, and the money ain't right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a lot of
Especially
ego.
for people
I
that's
mean,
not
and
in it for the love. If the money ain't there, I don't want to do that.
yeah.
True.
Yeah. I mean, you got to think about not Heal the World. What's the Michael Jackson song? Lionel Richie, Michael Jackson.
Oh, we
Oh,
are the world. You're right. We are the
We Are
world.
the World.
Yeah.
Sorry, We Are the
Yeah.
World. You look at a song like that, how powerful, iconic that is. That 40 years later, you see the Netflix special they done on it. You know what I mean?
Yes, that was really good too.
Very interesting, man. And even before that, on YouTube, I used to watch the making of the song and everything like that.
Mm.
And I mean, I'm not saying this is that. I mean, that's in a sort of a level on its own, but it's the same spirit. You had big names like artists who were popular at the time. Do you know what I mean? And I don't think they even got paid for it, if I remember rightly. It was something or another, but it was all in town for the award show. They done that. Do you know what I mean? And look at the song that it produced. I mean, this is the same sort of level. You got just on an R&B level rather than a pop level, and you got people that have come together and done this, gave it their all, put the egos aside, and look at the products that it's produced. There's room for more of that. Do you know what I mean? And we really need more of that. Definitely.
And then for them didn't that inspire the females to do Freedom? They
Right.
did it that
Yeah.
same night
Yeah.
on that American
Mhm.
Music Awards. That
Yeah.
night, all the
Mhm.
females that was there at the AMAs went and did the Freedom record. So
Right.
it was like like Sis said, the unity that everybody was. It was like, because like back then their contracts wasn't that good. They didn't know it yet, but a lot of them were huge and
Yeah.
big, and the money wasn't right. But they were in it for the love of the music. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And like
exactly.
you said,
Yeah.
what I enjoyed about the We Are the World thing, and what Quincy said at the door, leave your ego at the door.
Yeah,
This ain't
exactly
about
that.
who the hottest. This ain't about nothing.
Exactly.
We coming together to
Hmm.
do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you having with this record, you will know you got a young D'Angelo writing this. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Then you got these young artists, and you got some that been in it for a while, but again, they just
Hmm.
that unity was there, and you felt it in the
Exactly.
video. It's like shit. You wanted to be in the video just to be rocking with them in the studio, just how and unified it
Exactly.
was,
Mm.
and it's like Elise said that we have the talent, but is people really in it for the love of music to create something like this again? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And have the creativity to create something like this. Because y'all know with the creative stuff we at right now, you know, people ain't trying to be that creative because they're trying to redo all this other stuff.
Everything. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
And the trust, because you look at them. Yeah, I mean, you look at something like that. You had two people involved. I mean, obviously, you had all the voices and the singers, but it was D'Angelo and Brian McKnight. Do you know what I mean? Doing the arrangement and everything like that. On We Are the World, you had obviously Quincy Jones, Michael Jackson, Lionel Richie, what have you. I think Stevie might have wrote some, if I'm right, I can't remember. But you had all these massive entities, but they trusted in just a couple of people to run the show. And I mean, rest in peace, Prince. You know, we know who Prince is. We know, you know what I mean? We know who he is, man. He's amazing. But he missed out on it because of ego. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, if I'm coming, I want to have this solo, I want to do this and that. That's why all that stuff needs to just be left behind. And unfortunately, I think if they did do something like that today, that's a lot of what would happen. Do you know what I mean? It would be crazy. Crazy.
Them egos would be a mess. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then what people don't sense to realize, as big as you think you are, you ain't that big. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people not realize you social media big, but you're not that big. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a complete difference. And a lot of these new artists are really realizing that. Like, I always go back to the whole thing with Sweetie. She was big, everybody loved her, but when her album came out, it went brick. That just goes to show you that your social media presence ain't the same as what you think you are. So that's why I wish a lot of their egos would be dropped a little bit to know. But again, we don't have artist development. Because artist development, that's why those artists on this record was able to do that. Because they was like, all right, we got to put our ego to the side. You know what I mean?
So in this time and before, you didn't have an internet as a platform. So you had to grind it out and go to talent shows and open mics and variety shows and producer showcases and county fairs and all that stuff, because that was the only, you know, that's the difference. That was the only way that you could get people to see you and know you. But in the process of you getting people to see you and know you, you're perfecting your craft because you're performing. And so, you know, by the time, you know, you do have a little notoriety, you're stage trained, you already have a little following for whoever in those little things that, you know, like, ooh, they're good. So there's a seasoning just from the grind of getting people to see you. And that's the difference, and it's built in. But with technology, that changed a lot of things. That changed comedy. That, you know, not just music. It changed comedy. It changed acting. It changed getting jobs. Like it changed everything for everybody of how. You know.
And then everybody's not even recording with each other anymore. You know what I mean? Like, nobody's doing their verses like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, they were all in the studio at one time doing this record. You know what I mean? You can't even get that now. It's like, all right, send me your verse, send me your part. This is your part, send it to me. And it doesn't have it's not connected anymore. Like, the connection and technology kind of did that. You know what I mean? So it kind of sucks. But every time, like Easton, once you look at that AMA performance, you're gonna be like, damn, I wish we can get this again. You know what I mean? Like, every time I look at it, I'm like, damn, this is so good. You know what I'm saying? Like, and just to see all of these guys.
Definitely, man. I mean, to touch on what you said about the just sending in verses and all that, people don't realize how important it is to be around people. Like, when you're recording, especially something like singing, because if you're rapping and you're writing your lyrics, more times than not, they're already written. But, you know, I know a lot of MCs write in the studio, but, you know, a lot of times it's written, you'll just come in, you're laying it down. But if you're doing something like singing, imagine, like you said, you know, you're singing, Brian McKnight's there singing beside you. Do you know what I mean? Aaron Holt singing beside you. Know, listen, when it's my turn, or even if you're first, you're like, listen, I need to show up because I've got these people around. There's like the healthy competition, and everyone gives their best. You see what I'm saying? Sending in verses, and I'll send you this, I'll send you that. the inspiration ain't there to give it your all. So to be in that environment, in that video, whether it was all recorded together, what have you, you know, we see it recording and all that, but just that environment alone that they would have been in doing that is amazing, man. And you feel it when you watch the video. You feel it when you hear this. It's timeless. It's timeless.
Yes.
Timeless.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and then, you know, like you said, that healthy competition that makes, well, both of y'all said this, it makes the record better because, like you said, you're listening to that next person, and you know, and it just makes the song more organic because you know, I might be wrong, but I could probably you could probably send me 20 songs and I can tell you which ones were phoned in and which one they were at the studio together. Like you can hear it.
I agree.
Especially a man-woman duet, you could tell that if they singing to each other or if they just click some shit together.
Yeah, so true. It's funny that you just said that because I was thinking about Avant and Kiki Wyatt yesterday, and I was thinking just about chemistry, and I was thinking, you know what, they got such an underrated chemistry. You know, every time they do something together, it hits, and you can just tell that these guys have got good chemistry, man. Do you know what I'm saying? And chemistry is so important, man. So yeah, I fully agree. And that was there in that song. You just felt that everyone was just, the vibe was there, the chemistry in the whole room. It was just an amazing song, man. And I think amazing song. Always be one of my favorites, definitely. Yeah. Definitely.
That was topic. Speaking of Kiki and Avant, I think they really missed a lightning rod moment to put out a duet album and go on a duet tour. Like, it's too late now. Sorry, but it's been too late for a while. Like, while those songs were hot, they should have, especially Avant, you know, being such a good songwriter. Like, it could have really been a thing. I think them as a unit would have been bigger than any of their solo success. Like,
you know what? Yeah. I agree with that. I said that on Kill's podcast when he asked us, who do you think? And I said Kiki and Avant. Right after You and I came out, they should have gave us something. And shout out to Chastity. She did an interview with their producer. And he said the one thing that he was not with is, okay, Avant, you do your verse and Kiki or sing yours in. He said, no. Y'all gonna be in the studio together and you feel it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, you felt them together. That's why their chemistry worked. But like Sis said, it's kind of too late for it because it's kind of like the time has passed. But they could have knocked that one out for real. That would have been out of here.
I'd have been first day at the store with on that one.
Okay.
That was magic. That was magic, them two together.
Yes.
Yeah.
They were greater than the sum of their parts. Like, yeah.
Yes. And
that's a
why,
good point, actually.
Yes, Elise. That's why, again, with these guys all being together, it was just a magic, lightning in a jar. For real, like a lightning in a jar, and everybody could blow. That's what I'm just like, everybody. You know what I mean? Like, nobody sounded all that. I'm glad Elise said it, with everybody like going all being dramatic, doing all these other ad-libs and all this joint. But the basis of it is because of D'Angelo, because of the gospel background he had. At church, y'all know they gonna run all day, they gonna sing, they gonna do all that all day long. And you got the first two is Tevin and Gerald.
Yeah.
Them two gonna feel like during this time I heard some youth choirs at church. I was in church growing up, singing it.
I bet,
because you know because I've definitely heard church choirs sing "Optimistic."
Oh yeah,
so
I thought that was
I definitely heard some youth choirs singing this song.
Oh yeah,
you can, and that's why I said it's not your typical R&B song, because it's not. When you think about R&B, you more think about, I don't know, like couples or love in that sense. So that's why I said it's not a typical R&B song, but I wanted to talk about it because I love it so much. But for that reason alone, for the message and just the sound and everything, that could easily be sung in church, like easily.
Oh yes, and oh yes, And then again, it's connecting the young and the classic and the current, because the message you can get with the classic, but then the younger ones, which these all artists was damn near new. So it was like they were hot. So you got the young kids like, oh, okay, that's Robin. Oh, that's Tevin. That's, you know what I'm saying, Brian. That's, you know, all this. This is a new Joe. And you got, you know, Boys II Men was the hottest thing in the world. And when you watch that performance, you gonna see them like they fans. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you see them in the back just going off. And they just, you know, because they just doing the harmonies on the record and just doing, they not really, each of them don't have an individual part on it. But you see them, they winning every award in the world, but they back there rocking like they fans. You know what I'm saying? So that's what the unity of it all. So yeah, I love this song too. So I'm so glad you picked it. I'm so glad you picked
it. Yeah, man. Yeah, classic, definitely. Love it.
Yes.
Classic.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Well, Easton, we thank you for kicking it with us once again. We missed your face.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure as always, man. Thank you. You guys are family.
Yeah. And if you have any closing words, or if you have anything going on that you want to tell folks about, please, time is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, so most of you know me, Easton, E Major. I do a podcast with Slack, and it's called My Type of Hype. And we usually drop that every week. We're on a little bit of a hiatus at the moment. Well, not sure when this episode is dropping, but the episode will be dropping again coming from September. So yeah, My Type of Hype, hip hop podcast. That's about it really. The only socials I'm on is Twitter. Easton Major on Twitter, so catch me on there. I like to have my discussions and debates and talks about hip hop and music. Yeah, thank you, man. And music in general. Hip hop is my first love musically, but I love R&B with a passion as well. So it's great to come on the show and talk about R&B as well. And just shout out to you guys, man. You guys are doing your thing big time, man. And I'm not just saying it. Do you know what I mean? You guys are really holding it down for R&B, putting it out there. And yeah, man, so props to you. Keep doing what you're doing. And as always, man, I appreciate the invitation. Nothing but love.
Oh, for sure.
Yes. Yes. And we thank all of our viewers, especially our live chat crew. What up? And we're just doing big things over here, and we want more people to be a part of it. And just like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, tell an enemy, tell a casual acquaintance, tell somebody you met at the store about us and how much we love R&B. And you know, I was trying to think of something to do with You Will Know, and it was coming out about, you know, when they watch, they will know that we love the culture.
There you go.
And you know, we're gonna keep propping it up and talking about these amazing songs and albums, and we're just gonna keep doing this. And we really appreciate y'all. And we will catch y'all on the next Catch That. Peace out.